Prefect bounded up to the bridge of the Heart of Gold. "Trillian! Arthur!" he shouted. "It's working! The ship's reactivated!" Trillian and Arthur were asleep on the floor. "Come on, you guys, we're going! We're off!" he said, kicking them awake. "Hi there, guys!" twittered the computer. "It's really great to be back with you again, I can tell you, and I just want to say that—" "Shut up!" said Ford. "Tell us where the hell we are." "Rockstar World B, and man, it's a dump," said Zaphod, running onto the bridge. "Hi, guys. You must be so amazingly glad to see me, you can't even find words to tell me what a cool fruit I am." What? Said Arthur blearily, picking himself up from the floor and not taking any of this in. "I know how you feel," said Zaphod. "I'm so great I even get tongue-tied talking to myself. Hey, it's good to see you, Trillian, Ford, Monkey Man. Hey, computer." "Hi there, Mr. Beeblebrock, sir. Sure is a great honor to—" "Shut up and get us out of here. Fast! "Sure thing, fella. Where do you want to go?" "Anywhere. Doesn't matter," shouted Zaphod. "Yes, it does," he said. "We want to go to the nearest place to eat." "Sure thing," said the computer happily, and a massive explosion rocked the bridge. When Zarnawhoop entered a minute or so later with a black eye, he regarded the 4 wisps of smoke with interest. 4 inert bodies sank through the spinning blackness. Consciousness had died. Cold oblivion pulled the bodies down and down into the pit of unbeing. The roar of silence echoed dismally around them, and they sank at last into a dark and bitter sea of heaving red that slowly engulfed them, seemingly forever. After what seemed an eternity, the sea receded and left them lying on a cold, hard shore, the flotsam and jetsam of the stream of life, the universe, and everything. Cold spasms shook them, lights danced sickeningly around them. The cold, hard shore tipped and spun and then stood still. It shone darkly. It was a very highly polished cold, hard shore. A green blur watched them disapprovingly. It coughed. "Good evening, madam, gentlemen," it said. "Do you have a reservation?" Ford Prefect's consciousness snapped back like elastic, making his brain smart. He looked up woozily at the green blur. "Reservation?" "Yes, sir," said the green blur. "Do you need a reservation for the afterlife?" Insofar as it is possible for a green blur to arch its eyebrows disdainfully, this is what the green blur now did. "Afterlife, sir?" it said. Arthur Dent was grappling with his consciousness the way one grapples with a lost bar of soap in the bath. Is this the afterlife? Is this the afterlife?" he stammered. "Well, I assume so," said Ford Prefect, trying to work out which way was up. He tested the theory that it must lie in the opposite direction from the cold, hard shore on which he was lying, and staggered to what he hoped were his feet. "I mean," he said, swaying gently, "there's no way we could have survived that blast, is there?" "No," muttered Arthur. He had raised himself onto his elbows, but it didn't seem to improve things. He slumped down again. "No," said Trillian, standing up. "No way at all." A dull, hoarse, gurgling sound came from the floor. It was Zaphod Beeblebrox attempting to speak. "I certainly didn't survive," he gurgled. "I was a total goner. Wham, bang, and that was it." "Yeah, thanks to you," said Ford. "We didn't stand a chance. We must have been blown to bits. Arms, legs, everywhere." "Yeah," said Zaphod, struggling noisily to his feet. "If the lady and gentleman would care to order drinks," said the green blur, hovering impatiently beside them. "Kerpow! Splat!" continued Zaphod. Instantaneously zonked into our competent molecules. "Hey, Ford," he said, identifying one of the slowly solidifying blurs around him. "Did you get that whole thing of your life flashing before you?" "You got that too?" said Ford. "Your whole life?" "Yeah," said Zaphod. "At least I assume it was mine. I spent a lot of time out of my skulls, you know." He looked around him at the various shapes that were at last becoming proper shapes instead of vague and wobbling shapeless shapes. So what?" said Ford. "So here we are," Zaphod said hesitantly, "lying dead." "Standing," Trillian corrected him. Standing dead in this desolate restaurant," said Arthur Dent, who had gotten to his feet and could now, much to his surprise, see clearly. That is to say, the thing that surprised him was not that he could see, but what he could see. "Here we are," continued Zaphod doggedly, "standing dead in this desolate 5-star," said Trillian, "restaurant." Odd, isn't it?" said Ford. Yeah. "Nice chandeliers, though," said Trillian. They looked about themselves in bemusement. "It's not so much an No, sorry, wrong voice. Again, I want to apologize for the voices. I still haven't gotten them all down pat, and I'm really disappointed in myself in that. "It's not so much an afterlife," said Arthur, "more sort of an après-vie. The chandeliers were in fact only a little on the flashy side, and the low vaulted ceiling from which they hung would not, in an ideal universe, have been painted in that particular shade of deep turquoise, and even if it had been, it would not have been highlighted by concealed mood lighting. This is not, however, an ideal universe, as was further evidenced by the eye-crossing patterns of the inlaid marble floor, and the way in which the fronting for the 80-yard-long marble-topped bar had been made. The fronting for the 80-yard marble-topped bar had been made by stitching together nearly 20,000 Antarian mosaic lizard skins, despite the fact that the 20,000 lizards concerned had needed to keep their insides in. A few smartly dressed creatures were lounging casually at the bar, or relaxing in the richly colored body-hugging seats that were deployed here and about the bar area. A young Vlahurg officer and his green, steaming young lady passed through the large smoked glass doors at the far end of the bar into the dazzling light of the main body of the restaurant beyond. Behind Arthur was a large curtained bay window. He pulled aside the corner of the curtain and looked out at a bleak and dreary landscape, gray, pockmarked, and dismal, a landscape which, under normal circumstances, would have given Arthur the creeping horrors. These were not, however, normal circumstances, for the thing that froze his blood and made his skin try to crawl up his back and off the top of his head was the sky. The sky was... An attendant politely drew the curtain back into place. "All in good time, sir," he said. Zaphod's eyes flashed. "Hey, wait a minute, you dead guys?" he said. "I think we're missing some ultra-important thing here, you know? Somebody said and we missed it." Arthur was profoundly relieved to turn his attention from what he'd just seen. He said, I said it was some sort of opera, yeah, and don't you wish you hadn't," said Zaphod. "Ford, I said it was odd, yeah, shrewd but dull. Perhaps," interrupted the green blur, who had by this time resolved into the shape of a small, wizened, dark-suited green waiter, "perhaps you would care to discuss the matter over drinks." "Drinks!" cried Zaphod. "That was it! See what you miss if you don't stay alert." "Indeed," said the waiter patiently. "If the lady and the gentleman would care to take drinks before dinner." "Dinner!" Zaphod exclaimed with passion. "Listen, little green person, my stomach could take you home and cuddle you all night for the mere idea." "And the universe," continued the waiter, determined not to be deflected on his home stretch, "will explode later for your pleasure." Ford's head swiveled towards him. He spoke with feeling. "Wow," he said, "what sort of drinks do you serve in this place?" The waiter laughed a polite little waiter's laugh. "Ah," he said, "I think the sir has perhaps misunderstood me." "Oh, I hope not," breathed Ford. The waiter coughed a polite little waiter's cough. "It is not unusual for our customers to be a little disorientated by the time journey," he said. "If I might suggest—" "Time journey?" "Time journey?" said Ford. "Time journey?" said Trillian. "You mean this isn't the afterlife?" said Arthur. The waiter smiled a polite little waiter smile. He had almost exhausted his polite little waiter repertoire and would soon be slipping into his role of a rather tight-lipped and sarcastic little waiter. "Afterlife," he said. "No, sir." "And we're not dead?" "And we're not dead?" said Arthur. The waiter tightened his lips. Aha, he said. "Sir is most evidently alive, otherwise I would have not attempted to serve, sir." Zaphod Beeblebrock slapped both his foreheads with two of his arms and one of his thighs with the other. Hey guys, he said, this is crazy. We did it. We finally got to where we were going. This is Milliways. Milliways, said Ford. Yes, sir, said the waiter, laying on the patients with a trowel. This is Milliways, the restaurant at the end of the universe. End of what? Said Arthur. The universe, repeated the waiter, very clearly and unnecessarily distinctly. When did that end? Cried Arthur. In just a few minutes, sir, said the waiter. He took a deep breath. He didn't need to do this, since his body was supplied with the peculiar assortment of gases it required for survival from a small intravenous device strapped to his leg. There are times, however, when whatever your metabolism, you have to take a deep breath. Now, if you would care to order your drinks at last, he said, I will then show you to your table. Zaphod grinned 2 manic grins, sauntered over to the bar, and bought most of it. Where are we? Okay. The restaurant at the end of the universe is one of the most extraordinary ventures in the entire history of catering. It has been built on the fragmented remains of... It will be built on the fragmented that is to say, it will have been built by this time, and indeed has been. One of the major problems encountered in time travel is not that of accidentally becoming your own father or mother. There is no problem involved in becoming your own father or mother that a broad-minded and well-adjusted family can't cope with. There is no problem about changing the course of history. The course of history does not change because it all fits together like a jigsaw. All the important changes have happened before the things they were supposed to change, and it all sort of sorts itself out in the end. The major problem is simply quite simply one of grammar, and the main work to consult in this manner is Dr. Dan Street Mentioner's Time Traveler's Handbook of 1001 Tense Formations. It will tell you, for instance, how to describe something that was about to happen to you in the past before you avoided it by time jumping forward 2 days in order to avoid it. The event will be described differently according to whether you are talking about it from the standpoint of your own natural time, from a time in the further future, or a time in the further past, and is further complicated by the possibility of conducting conversations while you are actually traveling from one time to another with the intention of becoming your own mother or father. Most readers get as far as the future semi-conditionally modified, sub-inverted plagial past subjected intentionally before giving up. And in fact, in later editions of the book, all the pages beyond this point have been left blank to save on printing costs. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy skips lightly over this tangle of academic abstraction, pausing only to note that the term future perfect has been abandoned since it was discovered not to be. To resume, the restaurant at the end of the universe is one of the most extraordinary ventures in the entire history of catering. It is built on the fragmented remains of an eventually ruined planet, which will Haven be, enclosed in a vast time bubble and projected forward in time to the precise moment of the end of the universe. This is, many would say, impossible. In it, guests take, willin' on take, their places at table and eat, willin' on eat, sumptuous meals while watching, willing watchin', the whole of creation explode around them. This, many would say, is equally impossible. You can arrive, Mayan arriving on when, for any sitting you like without prior, late for when reservation, because you can book retrospectively, as it were, when you return to your own time. You can have on-book Haventa for when, pre-sooning, returning winter, retro home. This is, many would now insist, absolutely impossible. At the restaurant, you can meet and dine with, Mayan meetin' con with dinin' on when, a fascinating cross-section of the entire population of space and time. This, it can be explained patiently, is also impossible. You can visit it as many times as you like, Mayan on visit, re-on visiting, and so on. For further tense correction, consult Dr. Street Mentioner's book. And be sure of never meeting yourself because of the embarrassment this usually causes. This, even if the rest were true, which it isn't, is patently impossible, say the doubters. All you have to do is deposit 1 penny in a savings account in your own era, and when you arrive at the end of time, the operation of compound interest means that the fabulous cost of your meal has been paid for. This, many claim, is not merely impossible, but clearly insane, which is why the advertising executives of the star system of Bastelbon came up with this slogan. If you've done 6 impossible things this morning, why not round it off with breakfast at Millaway's, the restaurant at the end of the universe?